Tennis aficionados, welcome back to the channel. What we just saw in the California desert is nothing short of a seismic earthquake, therefore I want you to sit down, take a big breath, and get ready. There has been a complete upheaval in the tennis world. A shockwave that has echoed from the sun-drenched Indian Wells stadiums to Kazakhstan's stairs and the busy streets of Manila. You were completely and utterly mistaken if you believed you already knew the outcome of this year's BNP Paribas Open and that the top seeds had already been chosen. One of the most significant, astounding, and completely illogical upsets in recent Women's Tennis Association history has just occurred. Even if the video's title says it all, it still feels strange to hear the words out. Kazakhstan as a whole is in complete astonishment. Elena Rybakina, the 2023 Indian Wells champion, was ranked third in the world and seemed unbeatable. The lady who dominated the Australian Open to start the year has lost. Furthermore, she hasn't just lost to a veteran in the top 10 or a former Grand Slam champion who is currently enjoying a comeback. The Filipina sensation Alex Eala, 20, has outlasted, outplayed, and demolished her. Give it some time to sink in. The up-and-coming talent Alex Eala recently broke into the top 31 of the world rankings. Despite making consistent, significant progress on the tour, the player was still viewed as a huge underdog against the baseline's overwhelming firepower. Rybakina just accomplished the unimaginable. This was not intended to occur. It was not anticipated by the oddsmakers. It was unexpected by the commentators in the commentary booths. To be sure, I didn't anticipate it. Furthermore, I doubt that anyone in Elena Rybakina's camp anticipated this hurricane. The form Rybakina brought to California intimidates opponents before they even set foot on the court. The player in question wasn't merely interested in rhythm. She was giving it a definition. Her serve, an unreturnable missile that has saved her from any danger she would encounter, has been a deadly weapon. Her recent victory in Melbourne solidified her position as the current gold standard of women's tennis, and her flat penetrating ground strokes are ideal for directing play. In addition to Swiatek and Sabalenka, the overwhelming favorite was her. She was something that could be moved. Today, however, that immovable object encountered an unstoppable force of will beneath the blazing desert sun of tennis heaven. Alex Eala entered that court with the cool, collected demeanor of an experienced assassin, rather than the ferocity of a youthful contestant. We have been following Eala's steady rise for years. Her genius was evident in the juniors. Her ascent through the ITF circuit was witnessed by us. She defeated the giants during her remarkable run at the Miami Open last year. And only a few weeks ago, we witnessed her tremendous gritty performances in the Middle East swing, where she put the world on notice in Dubai and battled back from insurmountable deficits in Abu Dhabi. We were aware of her goodness. We were aware of her heart. However, her performance today turns her from a bright youngster into a real giant killer, a serious challenger who can stare at the world number 3 and not blink. This match has sparked an immediate and intense response. The sports media in Kazakhstan, a country that has centered its sporting identity around Rybakina's unwavering dominance, is in complete shock. Already, headlines are describing a desert calamity, wondering what went wrong, and dissecting each missed first serve and unusual forehand mistake. For Kazakhstan, Rybakina is a national hero and a representation of athletic brilliance. It's also painful to watch her leave this early for a player who isn't in the top 30. The forums are collapsing. The analysts can't figure out what to do. On a hardcourt, how can a player who may have the best serve in women's tennis lose control of the match? On the other hand, it's amazing to see how happy people are in the Philippines. For her nation, Ella is more than just a tennis player. She is a source of great pride for the country, a trailblazer, and a ray of hope. Millions of Filipinos get up at strange hours to watch her matches, so every time she takes the court, she bears the weight of their expectations. Today, she presented them with a work of art. Her performance will be remembered for decades to come. The determination, fortitude, and tactical genius she demonstrated to counterbalance Rybakina's strength. It truly was a legendary event. This win wasn't a stroke of luck. Rybakina didn't simply give up the match with 2 mistakes in this instance. Eala stepped outside and accepted it. She took in the tempo. The rallies were prolonged by her. She made Rybakina hit 1, 2, and 3 more balls until she became so frustrated that mistakes started to appear. You must comprehend the background of the BNP Paribas Open in order to fully appreciate the significance of this upset. There is a reason why Indian Wells is frequently referred to as the 5th Grand Slam. The conditions are famously difficult, the field is deep, and the stakes are enormous. It's dry outside. The court surface itself is quite slow and rough, but the ball flies to the arid environment. It produces a high bounce. Repeatable power is required. Without a deep level of control and tactical intricacy, you can't just blast your way past opponents in this game. Rybakina's game, which is based on early ball striking and flat aggressive strikes, typically flourishes when she has the utmost confidence, which enables her to knock through difficult conditions. And she showed up with such assurance. However, Ella cleverly turned those very circumstances against her. Early on, I understood that she would be blown off the court if she attempted to match Rybakina's force. Rather, she made the match a mental and physical race. In order to drive Rybakina back and prevent her from stepping inside the baseline and dictating her own terms, she took advantage of the sluggish, high-bouncing courts by looping powerful topspin deep into the corners. This game was a masterclass in disturbance. It demonstrated that tennis is more than just a game played with a racket. It's played in the space between the ears. It is a game of psychological warfare, where small, imperceptible changes can change the outcome of a conflict. Eala methodically destroyed Elena Rybakina, a mountain that had crushed so many others this season, rock by rock as she gazed at it. She demonstrated to the world that unbridled might can be defeated by speed, defense, tactical adaptability, and an unwavering spirit. This is what makes our sport so beautiful. We monitor for this reason. Because the screenplay may be ripped to pieces and a new star can create their own history in bold, memorable letters on any Sunday, or in this case, a beautiful afternoon in California. What exactly did she do then? How did a 20-year-old Manila native defeat the current Australian Open champion? Set by set, game by game, tactic by tactic, let's dive right in and dissect this tennis match that is a true masterpiece. Before a single ball was ever hit, we must first examine the atmosphere. The stadium was completely full and humming with that distinct Indian Wells vibe. There was a clear split in the crowd, the sun was shining, and shadows were gently moving over the court. You had the tennis purists expecting the world number 3 to provide a clinical, uncomplicated masterclass. On the other hand, a second-round WTA match was filled with an electrifying Davis Cup-like atmosphere thanks to an extremely vocal and enthusiastic group of Filipino supporters who waved flags and chanted. This energy is what Ella thrives on. She consumes it. During the coin toss, you can see it in her eyes. However, Rybakina kept her normal cold expression, appearing almost bored by the action, a face that typically portends disaster for her rivals. Eila's eyes were sharp and she was locked in, bouncing on her toes. The oddsmakers were right about how the first set started. Rybakina emerged with nothing but bombs. We're talking about first serves that routinely clock in the high teens and hit the corners with incredible accuracy. In the first 2 service games, Ella could hardly get her racket on the ball. Rybakina breezed through her games in less than 90 seconds, demonstrating her hold on love. Rybakina was taking the second serve early by stepping 3 feet inside the baseline when Ella served, completely crushing returns later. In an instant, Rybakina was leading for love and had secured a double break. It appeared to anyone observing that a slaughter was about to break out. Ella appeared totally overwhelmed by the situation and the force of Rybakina's shot. The next round's opponent for Rybakina was already being discussed by the commentators. At this point, however, we must discuss Alexandra Eala's mental toughness. A younger, inexperienced, or worse player would have given up entirely. They would have accepted the bagel, bombed the set, and hoped to come back in the second. Not a log of 4. She remained calm. She didn't start hitting too hard. Rather, she inhaled deeply, glanced at her player's box, nodded, and got to work. Her return position began to drastically shift. Ella gave herself an extra fraction of a second to judge the trajectory and just get the ball back in play by stepping far back, nearly into the California desert bush, rather than attempting to hold the baseline against Rybakina's initial serve. The goal was not to hit a clean return winner. It was all about getting the point across. And after the point began, he made a wonderful tactical change. Rybakina, she discovered, loves pace. Rybakina consumes hard, flat balls for food. She reroutes her own powerful shots by taking advantage of the opponent's tempo. Thus, Eala ceased to pace. On the sluggish Indian well surface, she began to hit big looping high-bouncing top-spin balls deep into the middle of the court. Rybakina's desired strike zone was not reached by these balls, which sat high. Rybakina began to seem uneasy after having to produce all of her own pace off high balls. After being flawless for the first 4 games, her timing started to falter. She began long forehand sprays. Her backhands were netted. It was 4-2, but Eala was able to rally after holding her own serve with tough, exhausting baseline rallies. The opening set was ultimately won by Rybakina 6-3, but the momentum had clearly changed. Blood had been drawn by Eala. Her ability to hang in the rallies had been demonstrated. She had sowed doubt in the third-ranked person in the world. As the second set progressed, the Kazakh star's doubt turned into a serious dilemma. Eala came out in full force. She understood Rybakina's rhythm well. In this match, Eala's footwork was just captivating. Before Rybakina even hit the ball, she was lurking about the court, waiting for Rybakina's bold downline shots. Eala started using the drop shot with terrible efficiency. Rybakina is a tall, very strong player, but she moves forward. Perhaps the only small weakness in her otherwise perfect game is the way she moves from the baseline to the net. Eala ruthlessly exposes it. With that strong top spin, she would drive Rybakina far into the backhand corner. And Eala would feather a stunning backhand slice drop shot that was precisely over the net as soon as Rybakina was anchored behind the baseline. Rybakina was compelled to sprint, lunge, and continuously move her enormous body forward and backward. The Wimbledon champion began to deteriorate due to the intense heat of the desert and his harsh physical torture. Eala led 3-1 after breaking Rybakina early in the second set. The audience was really losing their minds. There were thunderous cheers after each point I won. To her credit, Rybakina attempted to combat fire with fire. She attempted to blast her way out of the tactical trap that had been laid by hitting the ball even harder. However, I took in more of her defensive squash shots the harder she struck. It was disheartening to see her stretch out into a full split and magically block a forehand that was traveling at 100 miles per hour back deep into the court. Rybakina's number of unforced errors soared. Her percentage of first serves fell precipitously. She appeared hurried, agitated, and notably unprepared. Eala expertly served out the second set. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches. The stadium was buzzing with excitement as we faced a decisive match. There was a lot of attrition in the third set. It was among the best tennis sets we've seen this year. Both players were fully aware of the stakes. Prior to the third set, Rybakina had a medical timeout off the court. Perhaps she was attempting to freeze the hot Filipina by trying to emotionally and physically reset herself. She appeared refreshed when she came back.
Once more, she found her first serve.
Serve was used exclusively in the first 6 games. Both players are not moving an inch. Game after game, deuce add in, add out, 3-all 30-all. It was oppressively tense. It seemed as though the entire tournament rested on each and every rally. The pivotal moment occurred when everyone was serving. Rybakina hit 3 back-to-back wins. To put up triple breakpoint love 40, the lines were painted with absolute lasers.
It was this.
The world number 3 was expected to show her might, crush the upstart's confidence, and finish the match at this point. The stadium went silent. With ice in her veins, however, Alexandra Eala created the best service game of her life. Rybakina smashed into the stands after being hit by a powerful kick serve that went wide. 15-40. Then came a tiring 25-shot rally in which Rybakina was forced to make a backhand error after Eala refused a miss. 30-40. Eala performed the unimaginable on the third breakpoint. Against one of the world's top returners, she served and volleyed. Eala put away a crisp forehand volley on breakpoint in the third set by charging a net and hitting a slice serve out wide.
Deuce.
The audience erupted.
Rybakina appeared stunned.
After holding serve for the following 2 points, Eala made it 5-4. Rybakina was broken by that hold. In order to stay in the match at 45, you could see the air leaving her tires. The Kazakh bore the full weight of the pressure. Eala performed a perfect comeback game after spotting blood in the water. She viciously attacked Rybakina's second serve, stealing any angles from Rybakina by moving inside the baseline and driving the ball deep into the middle. Double match point for the Filipina at 15-40. The ensuing rally perfectly captured the whole game. Rybakina struck a huge forehand that was inside out. A shot that, against 99% of the tour, would be a clear winner. Eala scurried, slipped across the rough hard court, and launched a huge
defensive lob.
For what seemed like an age, the ball floated in the dusty air. Incredibly, Rybakina netted it after letting it bounce and positioning herself for a high forehand put away. The game set match.
Eala Alexander.
Eala dropped her racket, felt her knees, and hid her face in her hands as soon as the ball struck the net.
The stadium blew apart. It was a thunderclap.
The neutral fans' pure, unadulterated amazement and the Filipino supporters' unwavering enthusiasm were mixed together. Rybakina was obviously upset with her performance, but she couldn't deny the genius of what had just happened to her. She walked the net swiftly, shook hands respectfully, and virtually ran off the court. When examining the statistics after the game, the narrative becomes quite evident. Rybakina continued to hit winners. She had 54 unforced errors in addition to her 12 aces. For a player of her quality, this is a huge abnormality. Conversely, Eala played an exceptionally clean game, hitting 22 winners against just 18 unforced errors. Rybakina's second serve was won by Eala with an incredible 58% of the points. She made a game's greatest weapon into a liability by neutralizing it. This triumph will cause Eala's ranking to soar. She was at a career-high number 31 going into this competition. However, she is seriously aiming for the top 20 after defeating a top 3 seed and earning the enormous points that accompany a third-round appearance at a WDA 1000 event. However, this would provide you an unmeasurable confidence boost in addition to ranking points. Eala now understands that she can defeat the world's greatest athletes on the grandest stages, and more significantly, the rest of the locker room is aware of this. She is more than simply a risky floater in the draw now. She poses a real risk of taking home these enormous titles. Elena Rybakina finds this to be a disappointing and bitter setback. It will take some serious thought to be derailed this early in a tournament she loves since she was carrying so much momentum and form. Today, under pressure, she needs to determine what happened to her forehand. She needs to understand why she was unable to adjust when her plan A was removed. She will definitely recover. She is too talented, too competent, and too good not to. However, this defeat reveals a strategy for defeating her. The Ice Queen can be melted if you can endure a first assault, change the ball's height and speed, and force her to participate in a strenuous, physical competition. Today, the remainder of the tour was undoubtedly taking notes. As this enormous deep dive comes to an end, I can't stop shaking my head in amazement at what we saw. We spend so much time on this sport for this reason. We examine the rankings, draws, and matchups for this reason. Tennis is a deeply human activity that is influenced by the athlete's uncontrollable emotions and sheer willpower on the court, despite all the facts and reasoning. It wasn't only today that Alexander Eala defeated Elena Rybakina. She wrote a new chapter in Philippine sports history. She demonstrated that if you have the guts to keep going, no obstacle is too great, no foe is too formidable, and no disadvantage is insurmountable. How far Alexandra Eala advances in this competition is now the question. She has full access to the draw. The players in her quarter will be relieved that they won't have to play Rybakina after this outcome, but they will also be terrified of the idea of playing the fiery Filipina who just defeated her. Eala is moving forward. She has the game and the audience. The possibilities are endless. She must physically recover. Although that nearly 3-hour marathon was tough, adrenaline has a lot of power. She has every reason to make a deep historic run all the way to the last weekend here at Indian Wells if she can continue to play with this kind of tactical discipline and defensive skill. The route leads to Miami, Rybakina. Prior to the second half of the Sunshine Double, she will have a few weeks to recuperate, rest, and recalibrate. She will be very determined to show that today was only a regrettable blip on the radar because she was a finalist in Miami last year. Although there will be a lot of strain, champions are shaped by how they handle hardship. I would like to hear from each and every one of you who are viewing this. How did you feel about this huge upset? For a split second, did you anticipate this? What did you think was the match's pivotal moment? Is Alexander Eala capable of winning the entire BNP Paribas Open, in your opinion? And what needs to be done by Elena Rybakina before she takes the Miami courts? Now is the time to enter the comment area and make your voice heard. I'm eager to read your critique, and I know the argument will be intense. Please hit the like button if you liked this extremely thorough analysis of one of the best games of the year. It helps spread the word about this tennis material to a larger audience and signals to the algorithm that we are doing something correctly. To ensure that you never miss our instant post-match analysis, tournament previews, or in-depth explorations of the tactical subtleties of the beautiful game, click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell if you haven't already. As the drama continues to develop, we will be covering every aspect of this Indian Wales tournament.